Hi, I'm Bekah Jasperson with Jasperson Realty, and I'm here today with Danielle Westcom of Westcomb Interiors to talk about the importance of staging. As you might remember, we have a program called Seamless Sales Solutions where our sellers can make updates to their homes, including staging, and all of the payment gets taken out of the proceeds of the sale. So there's nothing upfront for them to prep their home. Danielle, one thing that I often get told when I try to encourage people that they should stage is that it's not worth the cost, that people they don't need it, essentially. Is that something you experience a lot and from people, and what do you see as the interior designer and stager?
Yeah, that's a great question and a pretty common obstacle for people. I think some people are gifted with the ability to be able to envision a space the way they want it or the way they like it or the way their furniture would look in it, but that is not everybody.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in fact, most people can't. And I would also say to that, the numbers don't lie. It's not necessarily an opinion-based assumption. This is a factual-based assumption. You will have a faster sale. You will get more by staging than if you hadn't staged. So our average return on investment for staging is in the thousands. It's literally over 1,000% rate of return. Where else can you get that?
Right.
and most people, their home is their biggest investment. That is, where a lot of their money is tied up. And so why wouldn't you want to maximize your return on that investment, especially when we're talking about such a huge return? For example, on staging, you're going to get $15 back on every dollar you spend. It's just the data. The numbers don't lie. So yeah, I think both things are true. Some people can envision, what their home would look like if they're a prospective buyer walking through, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a higher dollar amount in the sale. So
Finley agrees.
Yes. Oh, Finley, yes.
And I always tell sellers, sure, if people can envision the home how they want it without the staging, I don't know if those are the people you necessarily want purchasing the home, because they're the people who are probably looking for a deal because they want to come in and make it their own. They want to adjust it how they see fit. And usually they want to get a deal because they're doing that rather than attracting the people who want to pay for it as it is.
Correct. Yeah, those are the people often that can envision something different in a space is going to be somebody like me. We flip homes, we renovate homes. We're looking for a cheap sale, so we can do some value add. That's not who you want buying your home.
Right.
You want the one that walks in and says, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've always wanted. Where do I sign?
Exactly.
So yeah, if you're going to leave your home vacant or maybe even leaving your own things in there, rather than having us bring in, a more neutral palette, the people you're going to be attracting by leaving it vacant or leaving your own things in there are not the people who are going to pay top dollar for your home. So that's not who you want to market to.
Right, exactly. I was thinking about it recently, and it kind of reminds me, even though this sounds weird, it reminds me of when I go get my hair done. And so I've gotten my hair done, for years. I get it cut and colored, and I know the potential that it looks like when I get it done. And if I leave the hair salon with wet hair and I don't get to see it fully in its best element after I get it done, I'm not as excited about it. And I am willing to pay extra to my hairstylist to blow dry my hair, to curl it, right? To make it look its best so that I can be excited when I leave the hair salon. And I know not everyone's gonna relate to that because not everybody gets their hair done and stuff like that, but it's a similar experience where it's yes, that you want the people who are gonna pay extra to have it finished and looking its best so that they're excited and motivated to write the best offer that they can.
Yes, it's all about presentation. It's the same reason we don't walk into a business meeting in our pajamas.
Yeah.
It's it's still me. It's the same
true.
person. I look the same, but I'm not going to walk into a business meeting having just crawled out of bed without my hair brushed and some mascara on and clothes. It's this is your home. This is a huge investment. Present it well in order to get top dollar for it.
Yeah. Another one I always get pushback on is painting, because people always tell me they're gonna paint it anyway. What's the point in me painting it? And I always say, well, they might paint it anyway, but they're definitely going to paint it if you don't, and that cost is gonna come off the top of the sale.
Absolutely. So paint is a really interesting thing that we like to utilize both in design and staging. You can transform a space with paint. And that's the whole purpose of presenting your house the best way that you can, which is amazing that you're offering, you know, a bridge for people to be able to do that. But paint color, so there's a few things to paint. There's a psychology to color. And so you might love your yellow kitchen and it was, you know, beautiful for you, but you don't know how that color affects somebody else walking through your home. Same thing with red, blues, greens, oranges. These all invoke a feeling in people, and they may not even be able to put their finger on it. They might walk into a room and be like, this one's not for us, and then leave. And it could very well be the color of that room. I think painting is an incredibly important thing to do before you sell your home. You and I have worked together on these already before, and so you know I have a couple of go-to off-white colors that are gonna appeal to everybody and not offend anybody when they walk in, even if they don't even really know why they're feeling that way. So yeah, it is one of the most inexpensive ways to really transform your space.
Definitely. And I do feel like people always think it's going to be this huge cost, and paint is real. Even like having somebody paint it, that's one of the reasons we choose the vendors that we do. We choose the most cost effective, but the best at what they do, right? And I always hear people say like, oh, you're making it the millennial gray or the boring white. And I think, but the other thing to consider with paint is it's so easy for someone then to come in and think, oh, I might want this room a different color, but painting over white is way easier than painting over a red or, you know, like a deep color. And so it seems easier to people as well when they come in and see that it's already a neutral palette for them to pick a different color if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, again, it gives a feeling. And so when you walk into a clean, bright, white space, it feels move-in ready. When you walk into a yellow kitchen and a blue dining room and a pink bedroom, it does not feel move-in ready. And suddenly in the back of their minds, they're thinking, what else are we gonna have to do? And it turns them off from the sale altogether.
Totally. And I want to say, like, this is not us saying you shouldn't paint your house the colors that you want. Like, I literally have a navy blue dining room right now.
Oh, I know you do. I like it.
And so it's not us saying like we don't like these colors or like you shouldn't do this. This is very specific to, yes, live in your house how you want to live in your house, and then get it ready to move or get it ready for sale.
Correct.
When you're ready to list.
Yes, when you're painting your home the colors that you want, that make you feel good, that is what you're supposed to be doing. But when it's time to sell your house, we need to get it ready for somebody else to love.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's two different objectives, and I definitely think, I'm not saying color is bad. I love color. I'm a designer. I use it all the time. However, when we're talking specifically about bringing your home to the market, when we're talking about trying to appeal to the widest number of people possible, that's what's just going to generate a lot of traction on the internet. That's what's going to generate a lot of clicks and views on your listings. And ultimately that leads to more appointments, more showings, and potentially more offers. And then when you have multiple offers, you're in competition. So we're not saying that decorating your home for you is wrong or bad, but that's for you. And this is a new purpose. And so now we need to kind of set it up for the masses.
Yep, exactly. Do you have an example of when you've done staging and seen it, you know, maybe a property had been sitting or you really saw the effects of staging?
Yeah, I love that question, because what happens sometimes when somebody chooses not to stage is they go to market, they're asking top dollar for their space, but it's not presenting as if it's a top dollar property. And so it sits. And you know, as a realtor, once you sit after your first few weekends, now you're talking about price reductions. And now you've completely lost all your leverage. It was actually one of our very first jobs. It was a beautiful condo right on the lake in St. Francis, and really amazing location. There was nothing wrong with it at all, except it did have 2 red walls, and they chose not to do staging. And so that property ended up sitting for over 6 months, 3 price drops, and the realtor called me and she said, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, let me come in, take care of it. They ended up painting those red walls to be a more neutral color, and we staged it, and within a week she had 3 offers. So it really does matter. It really does matter, and it equates to dollars. It's about the bottom line and getting your sellers the most they can get. And so I do understand it's a little bit of an investment for some people. In your case with seamless sales, it's not. Most people are paying for that out of pocket up front, and what you offer is incredible that they can delay payment. But it really is going to equal more money.
Absolutely.
Less time on market and more money.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for having me today. It's been super fun getting to visit with you and Finley. And if anybody's interested in our services that we offer, you can find us on Instagram or at westcombs_interiors.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can follow Jasperson Realty on Instagram and Facebook.